the star's fate was sealed, as the marquee of the glowing red giant slowly dimmed. There would be no theater relocation, no big send-off, just a one-page news article.
So I was wrong. Yes, that's right, all you dead moms out there. Roughly 1 year and 5 months after I posted that mini-doc on the history of Beetlejuice, it's now official that Broadway's favorite bioexorcist is officially returning to the Great White Way. And it's also official that, much like your local meteorologist, I cannot always accurately predict the future. But honestly, this is one of those cases where I've never been so excited to be wrong, as Beetlejuice officially announced on September 13th, 2021, that it will be returning to Broadway on April 8th, 2022. The production released this exciting, yet somewhat cringy press release that really makes you feel like it was some 40-year-old guy who wrote it. The fans have spoken. Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. From Schubert Alley to TikTok, fans chanted Beetlejuice 3 times, summoning the ghost with the most back to life. So, seeing as this is a channel that's dedicated to theater history, I thought that we should take a few minutes to go over how exactly we got to this point, why it's such a big deal, what my reactions are to it, and to read through a couple of your responses to the news as well. Beetlejuice the Musical is one of the greatest comeback stories in Broadway history. The show originally opened at the Winter Garden Theater on April 25th, 2019, with direction by resident Broadway bad boy Alex Timbers, who honestly I feel brought us the most intense rendition of his coveted Timbers move, and he also effectively helped me scar every single person on my Patreon because of that. The show also had a score by Eddie Perfect and a book by Scott Brown and Anthony King. When Beetlejuice opened, it did so to surprisingly mixed, leaning towards negative reviews from major news outlets. And that was due really in part to the show being so unconventional and crass, to say the least. The negative press honestly looked like a death sentence for the show, as it hindered any word-of-mouth advertising. And for a few months that spring, Beetlejuice actually fell below the 70% of the potential gross, meaning how much money that it could bring in. It fell 70% below that. But somehow, in a drastic turn of events, everything changed when Lydia understudy Presley Ryan joined TikTok, of all places. And the show somehow became a social media phenomenon, much in the same vein as Heather's did, with clips like this.
Martha dump truck in the flesh!
Here comes the cootie squad!
Shut up, Heather!
I will never get sick of that. The show became so much of a phenomenon through this that it actually started breaking box office records. And so it was this turn of events that made it so perplexing and shocking when, seemingly out of nowhere, Beetlejuice announced that it was closing. It turns out that during those few weeks in the spring, when Beetlejuice was looking to be a dud, the Schubert organization, or the company who owned the theater that the show was housed in, executed something called a stop clause, which is where they basically picked up a snow globe and said, "We don't want to be broke anymore." No, sorry. That's the escape clause. I got it mixed up. The stop clause meant that the Schuberts had the power to evict Beetlejuice from the Winter Garden, and in turn, they could hand it over to the most daring and boundary-crossing musical of our generation, The Music Man, starring Hugh Jackman and Sutton Foster. In the video, I got the film and the musical mixed up, so this is my chance to address that. But sadly, as Beetlejuice was doing its death march towards a closing night performance in June, the Broadway shutdown would unfortunately rob them of their closing night. So to say the least, things looked pretty bleak for the show, as they were having trouble finding a new theater, they didn't know how to finance another show, and they also had this big-ass set and a giant sandworm that they needed to figure out how to move with. It appeared, much to the heartbreak of many edgy 8th grade souls, mine included, it was looking like we would never be able to sing along with Dead Mom on Broadway. But then, on September 13th, 2021, after nearly 2 years of tweeting #SaveBeetlejuice, daylight had come, and the show announced that it would be resurrected on April 8th, 2022 at the Marquis Theater, which is a Broadway stage that happens to be connected to the world's most lavish public restroom. So as of this recording, on September 14th, they haven't released a cast list or anything. All they've really done is just tell us where the show is going to be. But in an exciting event, the entire production team is going to be coming back, from the sounds of it. They've got Eddie Perfect, the composer Eddie Perfect, coming back. They've got the director, Alex Timbers, coming back. They've got the writers, Scott Brown and Anthony King. And they've got choreographer Connor Gallagher, all coming back to work on this restaging of the show. I don't know if you can call it a revival. Don't call it a comeback. So I was getting done working on some writings yesterday. And then sure enough, a bunch of other people started tweeting me because, I mean, you make one video where you say, oh, I don't think they're gonna come back. And then everyone just wants to jump on it and say, haha, you were wrong, jerk. There were some really good reactions from people involved with the show. Producers Mark Kaufman and Kevin McCormick came out saying, we are overjoyed to be able to bring The Ghost with the Most back to Broadway and are looking forward to seeing all our Beetlejuice fans, where we will blow the roof off the theater 3 times over with fun and laughter, laughter, and laughter. But looking at how it's going to be in the Marriott Marquis, I think it's really interesting to bring this up, that isn't a Schubert-owned theater. That one's owned by the Nederlanders. So, looking at the backlash that's been going on, it would seem that it's a little bit safer that Beetlejuice won't get hit with a stop clause this time around. But it's going to be really interesting to see because you had this show that I feel is even more popular now, given everything that it's been through. And it's that whole thing of you never really appreciate what you have until it's gone. So we're going to be in an interesting point right now where it originally was going to be Beetlejuice was gone and then Music Man was just going to go. But now you're going to have the 2 shows presumably running at the same time. So you're going to be able to compare how much money is coming in. And we can see if the Schuberts made a smart move by executing the stop clause or if they've shot themselves in the foot. And I'm just going to say it. What better ending to the Beetlejuice redemption story than it just coming in and whooping Music Man's ass? It would just be like a storybook where they finally get that closure that they didn't get because of the Broadway shutdown. And they also get to say, yeah, you shouldn't have underestimated us. And then in addition to the crew reactions, I also got some really good reactions from you guys. Janelle Brumfield said on this YouTube discussion post that I posted, I am far too excited for someone who has no chance of going to see it in person. I feel you. But since the show is coming back, since they're going to have a theater, fingers crossed that means they're finally going to do a pro shot. Because if Come From Away and Hamilton and hopefully Diana, depending on how that goes, if those 3 prove to be successful and bankable, like I think they will be, then a Beetlejuice one would be absolutely fantastic for all the people on TikTok who want to see it, but sorry, some person might live in the middle of nowhere, Oregon, and they can't get out there. So fingers crossed that we get HBO Max pro shot out of this, or something. And then I also got just my fair share of the, looks like you're an idiot. Drama Queen on Twitter tweeted me, "Welp, looks like Wait Wings has a sequel on their hands. #Beetlejuice. Yes, I will make a video on the redemption of Beetlejuice and their second run. Because I'm just really, I'll say it again, I'm really hoping they beat Music Man." And then AJ Stevens said, "Do it fast. The Marquis isn't exactly known for holding on to a show past a season." And interestingly, in that same vein, another Twitter user, Ben Lebowski, said, "I've heard that it's only scheduled for a limited engagement because the Britney Spears musical has the theater booked for fall 2022. But that was a while ago, so I'm not sure if anything has changed." Again, nothing is set for sure. All they've told us is that they're coming back, so take everything with a grain of salt. But even if it is just a limited run, it'll still be great just for them to finally have that last chapter and to have a definitive closing night that isn't just, okay, maybe I'll come back in a week, and then that week turns into a year. So what else can I say except welcome back, Beetlejuice. It's been a few. This is such exciting news, and really this is just such important news because Beetlejuice was one of those shows that got cut off, I feel, way too soon, and it's really one of those important benchmark shows for increasing accessibility. And I think that's one of the things that Broadway is really grappling with right now is the old school of thought of we need to appeal to the upper class people who have all the money, who are typically older, and who want to see shows like The Music Man. But after you have shows like Hadestown, after you have shows like Waitress, after you have shows like Hamilton, it's the turning of the tide towards bringing in more of the younger audiences, a lot like they did back in the 1980s with the mega musicals and Cats, where it's that accessibility and really starting to restock that supply of gateway drug musicals, as I like to call them. They're the ones like Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, where you listen to it and you go, oh, that's fun, maybe I'll listen to more. So the fact that Beetlejuice is back and that it gets to continue that trend is absolutely beneficial to Broadway as a whole. And again, it's just going to be really nice for them to have that last definitive chapter. So what are your reactions to the opening? Comment below or tweet me at WaitWings. Are you going to go to the opening? If you've been on the Patreon, then you know that we have this bi-weekly video chat meetup called the Drama Bookshop Cattle Call. And so we've all been planning on maybe having a cattle call meetup, Drama Bookshop Cattle Call meetup in the actual Drama Bookshop in New York City. And then from there going and watching the show. So that's in the works, which would be very exciting. I know I'll be there. Are you gonna be there? Also, what are your thoughts on Dead Mom? And why do you think it's just the best musical theater song ever? Anything else, I will not listen to it, and you will be blocked from the channel. But thank you once again so much for watching. If you liked the video, be sure to like it, share it around. Remember to live truthfully in those imaginary circumstances, and Chester sends his love.